Welcome to Romance Rex, where three book besties explore the world of romance novels and encourage you to expand your TBR. Join us as we dive into the hottest releases and hidden gems of the genre. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Romance Rex Pod. I'm Dev, and I am currently reading Unsteady by Peyton Corinne. I'm actually listening to the audiobook, which is just the male narrator. Oh my goodness. There are certain words he says that really just, I have to pause the book, y'all. I have to pause it, gather myself before I can continue listening to him. I actually should figure out what his name is because I'm just listening to it on Libby and I haven't looked at who the narrators are, but he might be getting a follow so I can check out the rest of his work. But yeah, that's what I'm reading.
I'm Jordan. Hello. I just finished reading an arc of Love Under Snowfall by K.L. Parsons. So cute. If you're from the Pacific Northwest, it's set in Leavenworth, Washington, and it's adorable. And the spice is...
Is the spice good?
The spice is good. Yep.
Oh.
And it actually goes with our episode last time, so I wish I'd read it earlier. But it's a student teacher. He's a professor. Anyways, and I'm currently listening to Twisted Night, and another arc that I just got off NetGalley. It's kind of what I'm into right now, by Kay Bromberg.
Okay.
It's fun so far. I'm just in the beginning, but it has a lot of potential.
Okay.
So buckle up for some bookish banter. We're going to get there eventually today. We are both so excited for this episode, everybody.
Yes.
We are giddy. Okay. I just cracked a beer. That's the mood I'm in. It's going to be good.
Yes. What is this episode about, Jordan?
I'm so glad you asked. This is my personal favorite trope in romance. This episode is Why Choose. Why Choose refers to polyamorous relationships, where there is more than one love interest and the main character doesn't have to choose between them in the end. Sometimes the female main character is the central interest and the male main characters are only interested in her separately. They are interested in her sexually and romantically, but not each other. And of course, these genders can be swapped or there can be gender fluid. It just, more often than not, that's traditionally what I have seen in this trope, but it is by no means the only one. Other times, it is more fluid, and the other characters have their own romantic or sexual relationships with each other. You will often hear these books referred to as reverse harem. Now, we have recently heard discourse surrounding this term and have decided that it is not a term we will be using anymore on the pod. When you know better, you do better. So that's where we're at right now. But we are so excited for this episode. And this is my official request for my father to stop listening. I recently learned that my father listens to every single episode.
Skip this episode, Dad. Skip this episode.
I need you to walk away. Turn it off now. Thank you.
Let's wait till he's gone. Okay, he's gone. Okay.
And with that, Dev, do you have a quote for us today?
I do have a quote. So my quote is actually from one of my recs that I cannot wait to talk to you about this book, but I'm not going to go too much into it with the quote. When it gets time to talk about it, I'll talk about it. But basically, there are three people in this scene that's happening. There's a husband and a wife and their bestie, Drake, who's a male. The husband is Hunter. The wife is Isabel. Drake is the best friend who is currently servicing Hunter's wife, Isabel.
Well,
and
if
this
you'd be so kind.
is right. This is the quote. You can be rough with her, Hunter says from his place across the room. She likes it.
Yeah, she does. Look at the support.
I know. We love best friends looking out for each other. The reason I actually love this quote, is because the scene that it's actually taking place in, I remember reading it and going feral. And just a while ago when I was like looking for the quote, I ended up reading like that full page scene, and I again had to put the phone down and back away.
Flushed.
Like
I watched you,
right?
Yeah.
It's okay. There is something you guys have to know about me. When it comes to why I choose the polyamorous relationships in books, I am obsessed with an MM couple being in the group. Or even if they're not a couple, when there is in the group, I can't tell you what it does to me. I actually cannot, because I'm not sure what the rules are on the air. But it's just my favorite. It's my absolute favorite. So yeah, I really enjoyed this scene and I enjoyed this book, and I'll talk more about that in a bit.
I love it. And actually, that reminded me of another book I didn't have on my list that now I think you need to read because I think it's right up your alley. So I'm going to table that. I'm going to
please, yes,
add that to my list. But it's also going to be on our holiday ones. I'm going to get to my quote before we digress, because really we could talk about this stuff all night, and we will. My quote, this is from the fourth one in the series, though. The series is Rich Demons of Darkwood. It is not paranormal. So the word demons is in there, but it is not actual demons. They're just so morally black. Make Me Burn by C.R. Jane and Mae Dawson. I actually have two quotes for you. If you're wondering if I just came in my pants, you'd be correct, little devil. A first for me, I must say. There's just something so feral about a guy being so excited that he can't hold it together.
Just cannot, yeah.
In fiction. I want to specify that in fiction.
Please, yeah, we need that specification. IRL, that does not work for me.
A little more awkward. Harriet Cassian. I do have another quote that I want to read from that one. It's not as dirty. I'm not going to do the really dirty one. If you want the really dirty one, ask us on our socials and I'll send it to you.
Yeah, it's hot. It really is.
But I thought it was a bit too much. Anyways, this one. I don't think our story is a fairy tale by any stretch of the imagination, but that's okay. Because the heroes in those books don't destroy the world to make the heroine happy. And that's what I'll do to make you happy. There isn't a line I won't cross, a law I won't break, a human being I won't destroy in order to keep a smile on your face and prove what we have is the realest version of love that could exist. I'm going to make sure there isn't a day that goes by for the rest of our lives that you don't know you're everything I've ever wanted out of life. That you're all that exists for me. Without you, I'm nothing.
Is this the MMC to the FMC?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love a declaration like that. That is so kind of morally great if you think about it.
Oh, no. No, when you know what they've actually done, there's a lot of murder she wrote in this book. I'll tell you all about it later, but it is, this is a dark.
Not a pitch black romance.
It is. I had to take breaks.
Oh, okay. Well, love those quotes. I know, love that. Sorry, as you can see, we are still without our Christina, but I think that may change soon.
Yes!
So, right, that may change soon, so we may have her back shortly, but that is why we do not have Christina with us again tonight. Hopefully you will be hearing her quotes and recs in episodes to come very shortly. But I would love to kick it off with my first rec.
Ooh.
So this is an audiobook that I just finished, and I've been slowly chipping away at trying to read authors for Books, Gowns, and Crowns. So this was a pickup. This is why I read this author. The book is Wicked Wonderland by Eva Chase.
Some of her stuff. Yeah.
Right. And I know you've read some of Eva Chase's work.
She does a lot of reverse harem. Sorry.
Yes, I realized that when I was looking for a book to write. So it was a great place to start. If you are looking for an author who's going to have lots of wide shoes moments or books, then definitely check out Eva Chase and listen to the book. This is part of a series. I think it might be 3 or 4 books long so far. I listened to the first one. It was really quick listen. It is a retelling, actually, of Alice in Wonderland. So the entire series is pretty much an Alice in Wonderland story. And it is, I'm sorry, because, we know Alice in Wonderland. So I have the Cheshire Cat as a man called Chess.
Okay.
And then I have the Mad Hatter as the Mad Hatter, but we call him Hatter. And then I have, and then I have the inventor / the White Knight, who I do not remember from Alice in Wonderland. Is that a character?
I was really hoping to get further into this after you were done until I admitted this. I've never watched Alice in Wonderland all the way through because it weirds me out and I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to weird you out. I don't think this Alice in Wonderland is actually for kids.
No, it always scared me as a child. And as an adult, I just still get weirded out. It's one of those weird things. I also don't like Oompa Loompas from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And I hate Mr. Bean because he creeps me the F out. So there are certain things that people are like huge fans of, and I can't stand it. So I am not the person to ask that.
Got it.
I'm
Okay. And
sorry.
I
We just
hear
lost
you.
some listeners.
No, I will say that Alice in Wonderland is not my favorite. It's not my
Ugh.
favorite story. However, I do love White Shoes
Yeah.
and I love a retelling. So
I feel
that's
like
why I
Christina would
really
know this answer, though.
right.
Phone of-
Right. I don't know if the White Knight slash inventor is a character from Alice in Wonderland because it's not one that like immediately comes to mind, but I also don't remember most of it. But anyway, this White Knight, his real name is Theo, and he's the third male interest. And then we have our Alice, who's actually Lissa. And yeah, so Lissa falls through a looking glass after her great aunt leaves her basically like this gothic mansion. She's cleaning out the mansion and ends up in a room that seems like someone never touched it. There's a mirror and she falls through the looking glass, ends up in Wonderland, where everything is, of course, topsy-turvy, upside down, colorful, bent over, flowers are talking. It's just nuts. It's
She's
paranormal.
on acid.
She essentially, right.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
in her contemporary life, and then, that happens. She is running from life pretty much. She's always everything to everyone. She actually walked in as her boyfriend was like cheating on her. And then, yeah, that's when she got the chance to move into the Gothic mansion. She was like, I'll do it. I need to switch up. I need to change. And then she falls into Wonderland. Okay, here's what I will say. I enjoyed it because it was quick. It was kind of entertaining. I will say it is like slow burn, which I find so strange when I have why choose relationships. It's not that I want them 6% in, get into it. But you expect a little more, at least
You have
if
more options.
all of them.
So
Yeah. Even if all of them aren't participating at once, you expect the individual relationships to kind of take off, which for me, that's the only thing I will say that it didn't take off. And also I could not get the chemistry with her three men and her. I couldn't see it. I know it sounds like I'm dissuading you from reading this.
But maybe that's the rest of the series. But maybe that's what comes next.
And
maybe,
that's literally what I was going to say. There are still more books, and I will get to those books. So I'm just setting you up to know that it could be a wild ride ahead. And where it ends off, I can see there's so much plot as well, which I do. It has tons of plot, which is nice. So we'll get into the second book. We'll see what's going on. But yeah, Wicked Wonderland, Eva Chase, retelling / Why Choose book. But yeah.
Thank you.
That's my first rec. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to say right off the bat, I have a lot of why choose in my checklist that I've read. It's probably my most read trope. So I've already recommended a lot. So just to review a few, I have recommended Losers, part 1 and 2. That is probably one of my all-time favorite books, let alone why choose. They're definitely polyamorous relationship. Beasts of the Briar by Elizabeth Helen, and I just read the ARC. I was so lucky enough to get the ARC for the 4th book. And if you're looking for a fantasy why choose, and you like Beauty and the Beast retellings, like really twisted Beauty, this is it. Oh, and it's definitely why choose. Polyamorous, like definitely crossing. Crossover there. Oh, multiple partners. So there's like relationships, but it's not. I mean, it's a little messy in the sense that there's drama, but it's not messy in the it's chef's kiss, as you would say. Perfect. Okay. And this is the sister duo that writes this. There's Elizabeth and Helen. They write under the pen name Elizabeth Helen. I believe, so these are their first works. They've put out the first 4 within a year and a half. And these are big books.
Yeah, they're kind of thick.
And they did it indie. They just got a trad deal in the UK. So if you are in the UK, if you're in Australia, or basically anywhere except for Canada or the US, you can get the trad published book. Excuse me. But anyways, so to watch the first book, I was like, This is kind of awkward. I don't like this female main character. I'm not quite sure, but the character growth of this female main character is such a representation of their writing. And it's so beautiful. This fan on the sidelines that's cheering them on, going like, "You're doing so great. I'm so proud of you." And I can't wait to meet them at Books, Gowns, and Crowns.
I have to read it before then.
I will be cosplaying the first night of the convention as the Dark Prince, as the quote unquote villain. I'm going to do a gender bent. And I'm so excited.
I love that.
Anyways, I've also recommended some Tate James before. Tate James has really great Why Choose, Madison Kate series, Hades series, The Guild. Those are all amazing. Check them out. Also, Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti, I mentioned like every single episode, but most of their works are Why Choose, and I will be featuring one. So I'm going to start with that one right now. The Harley Quinn Crew. Okay. The first one is called Sinner's Playground. This one is very different from the rest of theirs, I'd say. It still has their writing style, which I love, but it's contemporary. It's set in their world of the United States of Anarchy, but it's set in a fictional coastal town in Southern California. So the tag of the description starts with, "Dead girls don't feel pain, but they like the taste of vengeance." Rogue is the female main character in this. Now, she grew up in this coastal town that is basically run by this gang, right? She grew up in the foster system, and it was her and her 4 best friends who were guys: Fox, JJ, Chase, and Maverick. Fox and Maverick were basically brothers. Maverick was adopted, but they were the same age. Fox's and Maverick's dad is the leader of this gang. Okay. He's number 1. So they kind of fell under that umbrella of protection in a way, but they just went around this town. They lived on the beach as kids. But something happens and they shun her, and she's forced out of town before she's even made it out of high school. As a teenager, she's forced out. We don't see this on screen until later when there's flashbacks. So it's not like you're getting high school devastation. You're getting flashbacks of that later. It's the opening scene in this book is her crawling out of a shallow grave. The guy that she had ended up with, this is 10 years later, the guy that she had ended up with in a different town, relatively far away, he ran his own gang. So she kind of, you kind of stick with the life you know. And she did what she could to survive. And she was with him, and she saw something she shouldn't. And he strangled her, what he thought was to death, and buried her in an unmarked grave in a potato sack. And she comes out and figures out where she is, and she is on the outside of her hometown. She hasn't seen these boys since they told her to get the F out when she was a teenager, and her whole life went to shit, right?
Oh my God.
And she decides, well, I'm dead. Everyone thinks I'm dead anyways. I might as well get some revenge on these boys who fucked my life.
Oh my God.
They were the loves of my life. They were all my best friends. And she comes back like literally nothing. She has to steal clothes off of someone's line on the way, like off their fence by the beach going into town. They find her. These boys, they looked for her after they left, and she's been on their mind for 10 years and they didn't, or however many years, and they didn't. Anyways, it is so good. Also, the spice. So they grow up. Fox takes over the gang, right? So Fox is now leader. Maverick, some stuff happens, and he has now formed his own rival gang and is trying to take over the town. JJ, he owns the strip club, and he is a high-end male escort.
I love that.
And Chase is a fucking hot mess, but he's like Fox's right hand. She comes in, and they won't let her go. They find her like, "You're staying here. We're not letting you out of our sight." And she's like, "Fuck you guys." But secretly, she's like, "I'm going to steal all of your shit. And fuck up your lives." Okay. This is a whole series. It's a long series, but it is so good. The relationships, the rebuilding of trust feels real because of the time that these authors put into it. These characters are fucking unhinged, but it is so good. I cried when I read this because these relationships, it's also the men's friendships. It's like the boys they're each other's boys. Like,
Right.
JJ has to go through an identity crisis of my mom was a prostitute. I'm the highest male and I am a stripper, all this stuff, but now he can't get it up for anyone but Rogue. So
Oh my
what's he gonna do? It's just so good. Anywho, you should read it, everybody. Rogue is my hero. She is so badass.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
The last thing I have to say is the spice is so good. It takes a while to get there because it's a whole huge series to really ramp up, but it does go kind of one by one and stacks them in natural progression with her different relationships with them.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, people were talking about Haunting Adeline with, the gun and stuff. I never read it because it didn't sound like my kind of book. But this one has that. It has knives. It has so many good things.
Are they good things? What in the unhinged? Not good things.
I relinquish the floor or whatever. What do you say?
Okay.
That's my rant. Sorry.
Yeah. You're hopping off the, you know why she did that, y'all, right? Because she probably had a little saying that she was going to say and then forgot it.
Yeah.
So you have to switch it up. I'm just letting y'all in on how Jordan's brain works.
It doesn't. That's the problem. It doesn't work.
Oh, man. Okay. My next read or my next rec. Oh,
sorry,
here she
over.
go. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
Nope, I'm done. I'm going to mute. Start over.
All right, guys, my next read is actually Lilac by B. Reed. So this is my first B. Reed book, but I see that she has tons of books. Like, she has a decent catalog, which I'll probably try to get into. But yeah, my first read was Lilac, which is actually a Rockstar Romance. I'm pretty sure this is my first Rockstar Romance as well. I'm trying to think back. I feel like I've read contemporary stories about musicians, but not in the way this was done, which is really interesting. So here's a little blurb that I pieced together. Braxton Fawn is our badass MFC. Braxton Fawn is our badass FMC who doesn't take any shit from anyone and definitely not her hot new bandmate. The ridiculously talented trio wastes no time letting Braxton know that she isn't who they picked to replace their deceased fourth band member and pretty much spend the time making her life a living hell. Lauren, Houston, and Jericho, aka Rich, aka my baby daddy, aka my man, are rock gods with a huge fan base. They get everything they want, so when they finally set their sights on Braxton, lines get blurred, secrets are spilled, and they all realize that they have way more to lose than just a bandmate. Let me tell y'all about this book. I know, that's cute. When I did that little summary, I was like, oh, babes, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I will say, I listened to this book. So I'm pretty sure I have the ebook. Like, I bought the ebook a while ago when I was first interested in it, but I never got around to reading it. I listened to it and I loved this because number one, Teddy Hamilton was one of the narrators.
Yum.
And the way I eat up some Teddy Hamilton narration, okay, love that. But what I especially loved was that he wasn't the only male narrator for these boys. He voiced Lauren, but there were two separate narrators for the other two guys. And I love that because it was so easy for me to picture them because all three boys are very different. They are so different. So having different voices matched like the characteristics and attitude was really nice. So I'll say if you have a chance, if you do think you're going to read it, go with listening to it because I just enjoyed it.
I love it when authors are able to do that. I know it's a lot.
It's probably a lot. Yeah.
But it's so good.
The payoff is so good. As a reader, as a listener, the payoff when authors are able to do this is just really good. This, like having separate characters or narrators for each character and also having an actual duet narration, I think are like top tier league audiobook listens for me. Like they just work so well. But yeah, this story the pacing was slow, but not in the, oh, this is awfully slow, as in there was so much underlying plot and there were so many secrets that you kind of had to keep going with it as they were trying to get into their separate relationships and the boys stopped bullying her, basically.
Oh, I love a good bully. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't last long though, because they pretty much crumble.
Oh.
Yeah, they crumble.
Spine, boys. Come on.
Yeah, no, they had no spine. Once they realized it was like, oh, that's our girl.
Okay, I
And
mean, that's good, but
yes, of course, so this has an Emma relationship. I don't want to give too much away, but it comes up very quick. Something is said in passing at the beginning of the book, and I said, huh? It was supposed to be an insult, but I was like, wait a minute. Two of the male characters have been with each other years ago, I guess. But now they're all just best friends. There is no like tension. You
Oh.
get this one throwaway comment and you're like, huh? But you don't see it until they actually start talking about it. And there is a scene where she says that what she wants is for just them to get together while she pretty much just watches.
I love that. I love that.
I was fighting for my life listening to that scene. Washing the dishes, gripping the sink. What is happening?
Zodiac Academy, Beast of the Briar, that almost exact scene happens too. So I
Excuse
get
me, you
it.
said
It's
Zodiac
so hot.
Academy?
Well, not that watching, but like the Friends where there's a throwaway comment, that's in Zodiac Academy.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But Beast of the Briar, that exact thing is
It happened.
you two
Yeah,
go.
you too.
I'll be over
Yes.
here. Don't mind
Yeah.
me. It's
I
so
loved
hot.
it. Yeah, and this is contemporary, so it's not like a paranormal or fantasy read. It's very contemporary. I will say, definitely check the trigger warnings for this book because there is some like religious stuff. There was a 13-year-old being married, which is crazy. So yeah, just read the trigger warnings. I don't want to give away too many of the trigger warnings because I feel like that can also give away the storyline. But that one was like, ooh, cringy for me, like the religion and the 13-year-old being married because of the religion. I just feel like I should put that out there if that is like not your thing. It doesn't take up a lot, but it is a driving force for why our FMC is the way she is. It doesn't happen to her, but it is a cause.
Please check trigger warnings on any
In
book
general,
that we give you here. We can't list them all. There's just no way. We give you too many recs to be able to mine that for you. Take responsibility for your reading. Check the trigger warnings.
For sure. Especially with this list, y'all. Today's episode, please check. Don't even come and tell us how you didn't know this was in a book because I'm telling you right now, just check it. These books are not for the faint of heart, okay? But yeah, so that was Lilac by B.B. Reed. It's very interesting. The name of the book is very interesting. I'm not going to give that away, but that's also a thing. Yeah. I like that.
And I've seen Lilac around so much and I've always been curious about it. It's just one of those, I'm not really big on Rockstar Romance. So
Same.
I didn't ever pick it up, but I'm so glad you did because now I'm curious.
Yeah, no, and it is a thick book. Like I've seen it on the shelves at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
And it is very thick. And I will say it is very long. That's one thing I think it should be shorter. It could be shorter. It's just that we're on tour with them. And that's why it's long. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Piqued my interest. My next rec is I'm going to go completely different. I'm going to go Omegaverse. This is definitely a why choose. This was my first true Omegaverse. And I think it's also a really good intro. You have to love spice. It's very open door and there's a lot of explicit, but you're going to need to love spice really with any of my recs. But if you're looking to try Omegaverse and you've been wondering what it's about, this is perfect because I'm going to read you the description. So Pack Darling by Lola Rock. And there's 2 books. It's just part 1 and part 2. You don't have to remember different names. They're both Pack Darling. After surviving childhood at the snooty, stuck-up boarding school for budding Omegas, I have everyone convinced I'm a dud. My awakening? Never gonna happen. Heat, mates, in a fairy tale pack life? Maybe next reincarnation. All I want is to be left alone. I'm invisible, headed to a blissful solo until the Wyvern Pack destroys my dream of independence. Atlas, Hunter, Finn, Jet, and Orion are poison candy. They don't want an Omega, but they need one, even if there'll never be a real spot for me in their pack. Who needs a pack? I'll keep myself safe. Same as always. I'll never awaken, and I'll never give the Wyverns my heart, because all they'll do is rip me apart.
The amount of names.
So, well, the thing is, one of them, so there's 4 alphas. She's an Omega. One of them is actually another Omega. So they already have a male Omega, but he is not a scent match. So when you're reading Omegaverse, when you're building a pack, there is such thing as a scent match. And that's where they go feral for a scent, for someone's scent. Because everyone has a very distinctive scent, right? And some make you feel at ease. Every scent makes you feel something. And it's at a base primal level.
Yeah.
This is not a shifter romance. So for those unfamiliar, this is not shifter. It's like a social hierarchy and it's almost like in their DNA. You are an alpha, omega, or a beta.
Yeah.
Okay. They have a non-scent match, omega, already, because one of the alphas has always been in love with him. And they've known these alphas are together. Their dads run basically this. It's kind of like a gang. They're the Wyvern Pack is what they are. She is poor at this academy that everybody has to attend. All Omegas do to teach you how to be an Omega. She has suppressed her hormones her entire life. She has never had a period. She's legal adult. She has starved herself. She overworks out every day. There are a lot of triggers. If you have like sensitivity to eating disorder or anything like that, she does it with a purpose, not for like self-image, but it's more for like her own preservation. She doesn't want to be a part of a pack. She doesn't want to feel like she's owned by alpha. Secretly, she is more powerful than any Omega that's walked through these doors, though. She is a scent match for everybody for this pack. There's a lot of also trauma from her past. She knew one of the alphas when she was a kid, and she's known she was a match with him because of the way they were when they were kids. Their dads force her, because they own the school, basically blackmail her into being an Omega for them. She comes in. The other Omega is very territorial. So it's this play thing. And she tells them like,
play,
yeah, she tries to be as small as possible and be like, don't worry, I'm not here to steal your pack. Well, of course, things happen. She actually comes to and feel connected to this Omega. She's using like scent suppressants, everything. But eventually she does get her heat and things go terribly wrong. And it's
all right.
And no, not right.
Oh, no.
It doesn't go right.
No.
It is trauma. It's so hard. It ends on a horrible cliffhanger. But the next book is right there for you. I listened to this on audiobook and it was so good.
I'm going to go add it to my cart because I actually want to read this.
So I recommend this as a beginning Omegaverse because it lays out the rules of an Omegaverse very naturally and you really learn a lot about it. Dev is looking it up and her eyes just went so wide. It has a really good rating. It has a 4.24 on Goodreads with over 15,000 ratings. So
yes.
The writing
is available
on
Libby.
The writing is amazing. Okay. These characters are all so rich and you get to know them and you feel so connected. And then the spice, once it hits, closer to book 2. But you got it. But by the time it hits, then you are going into heat with her and you are like right there. And it is worth it.
Heat with her. That's hilarious.
Anyways, I'm talking way too much about these. So that's that. Pack Darling, Lola Rock, get it, girl. It's amazing.
I love that. Which is crazy because my next one is actually also an Omegaverse. That's why I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh, perfect.
So I have an Omegaverse. It's by Liliana Carlisle. It's called The Bounty. And this is very base level. Like, I would consider this super entry level Omegaverse as well. Like, it's not a shifter romance. They're not turning into wolves or anything. But it is also dystopian. So it is dystopian. It's Omegaverse. And it's a why choose romance. I guess it's labeled as a why choose. The FMC is like literally, when I tell you this girl is also doing everything in her power not to be found by these alphas, it's dystopian. So they're like, it's giving Handmaid's Tale, actually, where Omegas are being rounded up. Like, you cannot have money. You cannot contact your family. You are rounded up and kept in like this mansion or something to literally be at the service and pleasure of whatever alphas come in and collect you. It is so icky, but she is on the run. She has been like feeding herself. She has suppressant. She's been doing everything she can to not be discovered. Well, one day it goes terribly wrong.
Uh-huh.
It goes terribly wrong, and someone scents her. I think she cuts herself, and her blood is left by. So
Okay, Bella.
they
Right? Christina's not here, but I have to make the Twilight reference.
Yeah, of course.
Jasper, no.
Mafford, this girl is on the run from the government, y'all, not Bella. Anyway, yeah, so
What
she's
would
on the
Chief
run from the
Swan
government. Yeah, this is Christina's kind of conversation for sure.
No, I have to represent. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, the alphas find her and they're pretty much, we're keeping you. So this becomes an issue because not everyone is in agreement. Some people think they need to turn her in. Let the government take her, because if you're an alpha, you also can't keep your own omega. Like, they need to be for the shearing, because we need the population to keep going. It's dystopian. You see what I'm saying? So you can't just have your own omega, my love. Share.
Ew.
Anyway, so they're not all in agreement, which is really icky, but she makes a deal. She kind of latches onto the one who doesn't really want her there and is, I will leave. I just need to call my parents. I need to figure out a way to get safe. I will get to them. Just help me. But I don't want to give too much away. It is a standalone, so you'll be in and out real quick. It's kind of short. The spice does start to spice, especially once they all realize, okay, no, you're lying. She goes into heat. Oh my favorite thing in Omegaverse is when they start making nests.
Yes, the nesting is so cute.
I think
There's a lot of that in mine too, in Pack Darling.
That's honestly my favorite part. So they don't realize what's happening, but they know, and she's like bringing all these blankets and she's laying them in a circle, and they're all just looking at her. This is interesting. You don't smell like an omega, but you're making a little nest here. And then they all help her and find like all the things. It's very touching and very sweet.
Oh.
But yeah, I would label this as beginner Omegaverse with a cool dystopian twist on it. So
sounds dark.
She got three. It is a little dark, especially the government aspect, because the government literally own these women's bodies. It's really weird. And you have to be like a high rolling alpha who comes in, like, sweeps you off your feet. But then there's a lot going on, especially because someone's family member has actually been taken there. And that's why they're like all against the pack that we meet. They're against the place that the government is keeping the Omegas because one of them has a family member there and they want to get her out. Yeah, so go check that out.
That's
The
so
Bounty
interesting.
by Liliana Carlisle.
I like it. Okay, we're going to go dark here. This is quite possibly, this might be one of the darkest things I've ever read. This is the series that I quoted at the beginning of this episode. So, Rich Demons of Darkwood. Number 1 is Make Me Lie by C.R. Jane and Mae Dawson. I have not finished the last book. I might even have a book and a half left because I hit a trigger and I had to step away. I intend to go back when I feel mentally prepared. It was like book 4, I think, where I stepped away. I'm going to read the description from Goodreads, but I'm going to interject my own comments throughout.
Okay.
The world knows me as the demon's daughter. He's a famous serial killer, and I have been his accomplice. But no one knows for sure except for me. The dangerous, cruel men of the Sphinx Secret Society intend to uncover my secret and break me. Stellan, my childhood crush who lost his sister to the demon. Cain, the boy with the face of an angel whom manipulation comes as easy as breathing. And Remington, the playboy soccer star full of secret. Pax, the dark psycho who hides behind his fist. I hoped for a second chance at Darkwood University, only to have my dream ripped away the first time I kissed one of the handsome bastards. Had plastic surgery on her face to change so people would not recognize her as the most notorious serial killer's daughter in the country ever to have it. Her mother left her on a park bench when she was super little. She went into foster care. One night in this horrible, abusive foster care situation, because isn't that always the case in these books? Her dad came and saved her because he finally found her and tracked her down, only to find out that she grew up with him for most of her childhood, almost until she was an adult, and he forced her to be his accomplice in the most graphic, terrifying ways. Super trigger warnings. I promise you, if you have a trigger warning It occurs in this series.
Oh my
I
God.
almost guarantee it. Okay. But
Not a
I was
happy
enthralled.
but.
I was enthralled. Okay. And it's also bully romance because these boys are, so she goes to university after she helps get her dad into jail. So she seeks out the
Oh,
FBI.
okay.
Like she's the one who turns him in, but is it enough to forgive? And there's apparently secret evidence. Later she finds out that she was an accomplice. And so there's lots of drama. Like Stellan, who's at this university, she didn't know he was there, but she got, like a full new look. She's a different person because of her plastic surgery, right?
Oh my God. For some reason, I'm seeing like a hodgepodge face.
I know, but apparently she's super hot. Yeah, of course. But Stellan was her first and only boyfriend, secret boyfriend. She loved him as a kid when she was still with the demon. They lived next door. And his sister was her best friend, but her sister went missing and was found dead. So he blames her once he found out who the demon was. Him and his 3 best friends that are a part of the secret society because, oh, surprise, they're rich as fuck and run everything. And one of them is, anyways, it's a big, messy, dark thing. They've murdered people and it gets into a lot of unaliving and different stuff. But if you like dark romance and this sounds like your thing, if you're looking for a darker Why Choose version of Bryn Weaver's work, this is it.
I see.
You see where I'm going? This is it. If you know anything about C.R. Jane, C.R. Jane writes dark stuff. This is my first Jane Dawson, but it's heavy, but it's good. And the spice is really good too. And I just love her. I wanted to see this female main character like rediscover herself because she has to accept the dark parts of her, right? Because she's grown up with this. It's ingrained in her, but she has to find what she really believes in, where her lines are. And that's really what draws me to this series.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I don't know if I could get into something so dark, but I'm so curious. Like,
no, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. Definitely not. Probably not even for most. But if it is,
you're gonna love it. All right. I have one last rec. This is definitely a Why Choose situation, but when I tell you when I first read this a couple years ago now, I think, this immediately became one of my favorite books. And it's also a part of a series, which is very popular. This book is Give Me More by Sarah Kate, and it is book 3 in the Salacious Players Club, which a lot of people know about. It's a very popular series. I think book 1 is talked about a lot. That one is Praise. Sorry, not Praise. The book 2 is Mercy. Book 2 might be, I can't remember.
Did you recommend Praise?
Eyes on Me.
Did you recommend Praise before?
Maybe. I think I may have spoke about Praise because Praise, when we did Good Girl, maybe. That Good Girl episode.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have fit in there. But yes, Give Me More this is also with the quote that I did earlier in the episode. Oh my gosh, just thinking about this book literally gives me goosebumps. So the Salacious Players Club is like a kink club that a couple of friends own. And yeah, people go there. It's wildly popular. And that is like the binding thing for the entire series, right? It follows like different people within the club. Give Me More follows Hunter, Isabel, and Drake. Hunter and Isabel are married, but Hunter, Isabel, and Drake have literally known each other since they were like teenagers, 16, 17 years old. Hunter and Drake were best friends when they first saw Isabel, and technically Drake saw her first, but Hunter he became obsessed, or pretty much he called silent dibs. And so when him and Isabel started dating and whatever, Drake was also always there because that was like a no-go for Hunter. Their backgrounds like forced Hunter and Drake together. Like they were best friends, kind of like surviving the world together best friends. So it wasn't a situation where he got with this woman and he like threw his best friend to the side. Never happened. So they're always together. And Isabel also, she loves Drake, right? That's bestie. Now we're all 3 besties. They do everything together.
You want your partner's best friend to be close with you?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I personally don't in a no. I was like, not in the real life, I don't. But like,
In
It's
the
a nice
book, it's what
idea.
we expect.
a nice
So,
idea.
yeah, very nice idea.
I
in the
think
book.
about mine and I'm like,
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, no best friends, babe.
no.
But so I will say that Drake is very openly a hoe. I'm gonna just say it like that. He
Yeah.
calls himself much worse. Everyone calls him much worse.
Play.
But he is very in tune
Right.
with his sexuality. He bats for no single team. Like, he's for the streets.
Oh.
He is for everybody. Everyone knows that about him. However, it becomes a crutch mask that he uses to ignore
Crutch.
his deeper feelings. Yeah, crutch. He uses that to not really own up to his own feelings. And you start to see that way down on his character. While Hunter and Isabel, I'm not sure, but one day they just decide that they want a little something else. But mainly because Hunter grew up with a dad who literally would try to beat the gay out of him.
Homophobic. Yeah.
Yes, he was very homophobic, but not that he had a reason to believe that with Hunter, but if they were at the beach and he saw something like that, he would look to his son and be like, make really weird comments. So Hunter has this very suppressed sexuality that he doesn't even look at. And he loves his wife, to be fair. He's obsessed with her. There is no question. But there's a part of him that has always been suppressed. And you start to think maybe that's the reason that he's kept Drake around all this time. Well, they decide to give it a go. And when the spice, you get a little pushback from Hunter because at first it becomes a thing where he just wants Isabel to be happy. So he's going to let them do their thing, but he can't give in to Drake. He just can't. He doesn't know how, but he loves Drake. When I tell you this man loves his best friend, he loves his best friend. In his you can hear it in his own monologues, like how he views Drake, how he views Isabel, and
It's
then how
his
he talks
person.
about himself.
It's one of his people. It's his
And that is actually a quote from the book too, where he says something about, if we're going to ever have soulmates or something, then he is mine. And he's talking about it is so cute.
Yeah.
The spice is so hot. Because it's so hot. Because of course Drake also loves Isabel. Isabel loves them both. Like, y'all,
more to love.
I cannot tell you how hot this spice is. Like, Richter scale off of it, gone in the stratosphere. Like, it is so hot because you also have the element of the club in it too, where lots of salacious
I forgot about the
things go on.
club.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm
Yes, I
saying?
forgot about the club.
So think about a throuple date
Great.
night at the club. It's crazy.
I can because it happens in Losers too, but there's 5
Does
of them
it?
and they go to the club. Yeah.
See, yeah, like not like a good club scene. And yeah, there's just it's really good. And I'm saying the spice is really good. And I love that. I read it for the spice alone, truly. But the actual growth, the characters make this book so wholesome. Watching Hunter accept himself and in turn truly accept his best friend even more than he already does, right?
Yeah.
Because accepting yourself means acknowledging this other person who's been like this his whole life and free. And just the respect he has for his wife. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love it so much. And coming off of book 2, which wasn't my favorite in the series, I didn't have high hopes for book 3, but reading book 3 pushed me to read the entire series.
Okay. I'm so glad you said that about the characters because while we talk about the spice a lot and we talk about smut and we talk about all this stuff, all these fun things about romance in general, but specifically it comes up a lot in Why Choose because there's more options, right? For me, if I'm ever asked why I read so much romance, my number one reason is not the smut. Yes, I prefer my books to have smut, but it is for the character development. It is for the relationships. It is to watch good writing. When there is good writing in romance and this trope specifically, it is so moving and it causes you to think about yourself in different ways. It causes you to think about people in your own life and situations differently. And I love it so much. And that is probably why this is my favorite trope or subgenre, whatever you want to consider this, because there's more of it, because you have more players in the game. You have more people you're focusing on. You have one person in
2 to 5 relationships at once. And yes, it gets dramatic and messy sometimes, but it's also so rewarding to read about and watch the development unfold, watch these characters come into their own and embrace that life. And it's so amazing.
Yeah,
I love it so much.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. We read romance because at the end of the day, we love seeing people being loved loudly, being loved well. Just, we love it. We love the romance aspect of it. So yeah, when the writing is good, when it has the spice, but when you get to see these characters flourish and just learn about themselves, and also when you can connect or relate, I think that's really what makes the genre. And there's just so much. There's so many different types of it. So yeah. And when you get to see
here and here and here, it's like you're there.
Obsessed.
It's like you're there.
Oh my gosh. It is so good. But yeah, those are my recs. So check them out, please.
With that said, I think our last recommendation that we both highly recommend, we've mentioned it before on the pod, but speaking of watching relationships unfurl, Broken Bonds, book 1 in the Bonds That Tie series by Jay Bree. We've mentioned it before. We've briefly talked about it, but we want to go a little bit more in depth and describe it for you here because it is, for me, this is the book that introduced Why Choose to me, which is a doozy because there are a lot of men involved. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 men. 4 men.
4.
5.
5.
Sorry.
5.
Hello, Atlas.
I knew it was Atlas. You were forgetting.
No, because I'm picturing the grid. That's the way I picture the beginning. Anyways, so The Bonds That Tie by Jay. Let's set the scene for you. After the death of my mother and her bonded, side note, bonded is this world's version of mate. I was relieved to find my own bonds. She was a teenager. I was sure everything would be okay if I had them. I wasn't. The fate of our people is in my hands, and I know we're better off if I'm alone. After 5 years on the run, I'm caught and dragged back to face the men I ran away from. I thought I was doing the right thing. Now I'm not so sure. North. Knox. Griffin. Atlas and Gabe may never forgive me, but one thing is for sure, I won't ever forgive myself. So this is a rejected mate. She rejects her mates. Okay? So much trauma. There's some pretty heavy stuff that they went through that they're mentioned and that they're still processing. So please check trigger warnings for that. I would consider this a slow burn because this is a long series, but the spice does not hit the first book. It doesn't hit until it starts to hit the second book.
Middle of the second book at that.
I've listened to this book, so I have them all in audio. I bought them all. That's how much I loved them. And I've listened to them at least 3 or 4 times. This series.
I've never listened to it. That's so interesting. I might want to listen to it. I've only ever read it all on Kindle and then I reread all the physicals.
Okay. I do have 2 major plot points that need answering from Jay Bree. Okay. This is just for Jay Bree.
Jay Bree.
What is Ollie's incidental? It's never fucking mentioned. Love you, Jay.
She actually made a post. Oh my gosh, I forgot. She where did I see this?
What?
She made a post.
When?
I don't know.
No, I'm like
itching.
Ago. No, how did I miss it? I follow her religiously.
She made a post, but I don't think she doesn't say what it is, but she says something like, I can't believe it's right there in the book. You guys can't.
No, it's
tell
not.
What it is.
No, it's not.
And that's what I said when I read that. It's not clear.
No, because if she's saying it's the thing where she sees everybody, it's not because that's part of her other. Anyways, I don't want to give everything away. I think what we need to do is a bonus episode just of this series where we break it all down.
Yes.
Anyways, the other thing is
Griffin is my man. So
I'll fight him for you.
We will have. I would even share.
I would even share. I don't believe in sharing with other women. I don't. But when it's all about, as long as the attention's all on me, I don't care. But with you, I mean, it could be like a divorced parent situation where we can just Griffin,
mother effing Shore. Oh my, the man that you are. The man
and Atlas. I mean,
yes.
I mean, and really, I think for me, Atlas would have been even better if he would have stepped up his bedroom game a little bit differently. But they didn't get enough one-on-one time. They didn't get enough one-on-one time, I think, is the problem.
They did it. They did it. This is paranormal. Did we mention that? This is a
No,
paranormal.
I mean, so bonds are like mate, but the way it's
Yeah.
so it's a world like ours. There are humans just
Right.
like ours. The society is like ours. The only difference is there are essentially humans with superpowers.
Yeah.
They each have a gift or 1 to 3 gifts, depending on their power levels. Their power is called bonds, and they find they're bonded, which is like a soulmate. And it literally says they are different pieces of the same star or soul. There's one central bond, and then she has her bonded. Ollie is the central bond to these 5. And well, they become bonded. They're bonds, and then they're bonded once they solidify their bond by by coming specifically. Because you got to be able to make them come to solidify that bond.
Literally.
It is. And
It is so
what we'll leave
good.
with.
I know people don't. There are a weird group of people who don't enjoy this book, but I will never be one of them.
Well,
Jabri,
because
they would never make me hate you. I
No,
just
but there
love this
are a
series.
few things that I wish I could sit down and talk to Jay about.
For sure. She needs to come on live and literally just talk about
We will
this
question you
series.
and love you no matter what. Please.
Yes.
We will have you. If anyone wants to see her on here, just hit her up. Be like, hey, you should go.
Oh, yeah. Tag the podcast.
Tag the pod in her comments. Be like, Devaney and Jordan from Romance Rex would love to chat in a very welcoming way.
Right. Yeah.
All the love.
We love her.
Question. I wish there was some more groveling. And that's the one thing that Christina mentioned that I looking back, I never thought about it, but looking back and being more seasoned in romance reads since I first read this, there could have been more groveling.
Especially after, how they treated her. Yeah.
But I think the thing with this series is they just wanted to move forward so much.
Right.
And Ollie also had her own guilt. And so she wanted to move forward too. So anyways, I think we should have a special episode just for this series. If you're up for that, please let us know because we're here for it.
Please let us know. Yes. All good things to say about this series. But yeah, this is probably an episode in itself. Like we can talk about this series forever.
We'll do it regardless, but let us know.
Yeah. Right. Just so you know.
I hope everyone's found something that they would be interested in, whether you are seasoned in this trope or you are curious or unsure. I hope we haven't scared you away. I will, on our socials, on Instagram, I will be posting my own special Why Choose list that I have curated. It's a lot more extensive. It won't be as detailed, but it will have even more for you. So please go follow us there if you haven't already. Also, I would like to mention that we have a Discord server now. Please come join our community. Let's have a positive, no yucking of yums. We are just sharing recs. We are talking our favorite reads. You can debrief episodes. You can just, connect with other listeners who are looking for reputable resources. Because while we all add to our TBR based off of a single random quote that we find on socials, we are trying to give you a more detailed, comprehensive understanding of the books you are picking up. Because that's what we all want. We want to hear from our besties who we trust, and that's what we're here to give you. So, for listening to us ramble about Why Choose books. If you're looking for more Romance Rex, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok and Discord at Romance Rex Pod. Discord is just Romance Rex server. You can find our favorite book recs from our episodes as well as behind the scenes content. Again, that's Romance Rex Pod. So make sure you give us a follow, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode.
Keep your eyes peeled. You never know what's going to pop up, guys.
And have fun not choosing.